Howdy, y'all. Welcome back to the RedAss podcast. This is, I want to say, episode 22 now. You've got your co-host, Rob White, fighting Texas A Class of 14.
And this is Roy May, fighting Texas A Class of 2015.
Yeah, safe to say we decided to take ourselves a little break after last week. The team was off, so we figured we'd also give ourselves a off week.
Oh, well, I mean, it wasn't so much planned, but just last week was nutso, and like my daughter got a concussion, so we're dealing with that. My wife screwed her back up, like.
Jeez.
Yeah, well, and my wife's like me. We're just getting old, but my daughter, she's huge on taking charges, which I love. I love that part of her game, but I guess she took a charge. It was an away game in Conroe. She took a charge, and I guess her head bounced pretty hard off the hardwood. So.
Oh boy.
But, yeah, we went to trainer today. She'll be back at it. I think she's got a game. She's got a game coming up, I know. But they're in limbo right now because, with A&M, everybody leaves for Thanksgiving and doesn't come back, right?
Right.
Well, the high schools are still coming back after Thanksgiving, although they have this whole week off.
Right.
But it's like this. It looks like the season may kind of be in limbo. So I don't know. I feel bad for so many high school athletes in so many sports. I know it's, we all pay attention to the college and the pro stuff, but man, these kids, in the high school level, it's for an overwhelming majority of people, it's the last time you're going to play organized sports, and and just having seasons, and sometimes your last season taken away, it just sucks. So I hope they can find a way to play the game. They've kind of altered their schedule a little bit.
Right.
But
I feel like we did see a little bit of that because, those of you who do keep up with high school sports, football has been kicking off with the playoffs at all levels at this point. And you've already seen a couple of seasons end because of COVID, where they're in the playoff, they had forfeit games. So it's just rough that, you don't even get a chance to
even play, yeah.
But
I don't want to be all down the dumps or anything. It's just, that's just life. That's how it goes. I wasn't feeling great last week, and then I had a busy, long week and was able to steal a couple days away, and I went fishing with my dad, which is, those can't ever replace, getting to spend a day out on the lake with your dad. And then this weekend I had 3 days of Army drill, which felt like 3 months.
Oh, joy.
So, it was supposed to be a field exercise. We were supposed to go, away to another installation.
Right.
But with COVID and military travel and everything, we just did it at the reserve center, but they decided that we'd sleep at the reserve center. So it was like a slumber party. It was really, really fun. So, but yeah, so I've been trying to catch up all day, and I'm busy as crap this week because you got, today I had to run around and get a bunch of errands taken care of for the restaurant because we're doing those Thanksgiving meals.
Right.
I still haven't even started the errands for the Thanksgiving here at the house, and not that we're not having a ton of we're not having people over.
Sure.
But Thanksgiving's a big deal for me. I love cooking Thanksgiving. We love going way overboard and having leftovers for forever.
Of course.
And so I've got to do that. I've got to squeeze work in at some point tomorrow, Wednesday, but I've got to go grocery shopping. I may do it tonight because I've got to get the turkey thawed and I've got to get it in the brine.
Right.
I need to get a lot of work done tomorrow because Wednesday I've got to take completely off because half the orders are picking up on Wednesday. It's just blah, 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 blah. And then Thursday's Thanksgiving.
Sure.
Friday, the May family tradition, we wake up the day after Thanksgiving, get up early, start pulling all the Christmas stuff out, get Christmas put up the day after Thanksgiving.
Right.
Saturday we got Aggie football again.
Oh, it's back. Finally.
Yeah, Sunday will be my day of rest because then Monday I've got the West Ham match.
Right.
And then it always feels like once you hit Thanksgiving, you blink and there's Christmas.
Yeah, it's that goofy time of year. It just feels like everybody. I mean, I know, especially for me, I feel like I just lose a lot of productive value at this point in the year. Once you get through about Thanksgiving until Christmas, it's like you just don't want to do a ton. I know, especially with
you want to do a ton that's not work.
Right. Well, exactly, and that's just it. You think about work. What I do. I know a lot of businesses I'm going to be working with, they're just ready to wind down for the rest of the year and not really worry about so much Christmas stuff as it is getting set for the next quarter next year.
Yeah.
And they're not really wanting to put out any new marketing. And of course, with, the COVID situation, it just feels like everybody's trying to hold on to what they have as opposed to try to, risk anything right now. And I don't blame them.
It's gonna be a really slow holiday season, I think, for a lot of businesses. We're looking at good bowl, and I'm just kind of crossing my fingers partially. But in reference to that, just remember, in the holidays, especially if you're local in College Station or if you live in a college town, definitely remember all those, kind of the small businesses, because between Thanksgiving and really the New Year, it can be so slow, and it's going to be even slower because of COVID. So, when you're out and about, or you're shopping, or you're thinking about getting dinner or whatever, remember to think of the small businesses to do your Christmas shopping. And
Absolutely.
Don't sit on your phone for 3 hours searching through Amazon and finish all of your Christmas shopping. Do local. Always support local. When you can. They're obviously struggling already with COVID, and it's just gonna get more difficult, during the holiday season. So
Right.
support local. Y'all know we're big on that anyway.
Always. Considering we both work at local businesses, we definitely support that and want to continue to push that, of course. Just kind of honestly a quiet sports weekend, really, outside of you look at NFL and even college football. There really wasn't a whole lot going on.
No, there were some games that I think maybe were unexpectedly good. I thought the Ohio State game was going to be a good game, and I kind of peeked over and I looked. You blink and Ohio State was up, by 1 million.
Yeah.
Like 35-7 or something like that. Or something.
Yeah.
But then Indiana showed that they're at least somewhat legit.
Yeah. They played a tight game.
Either that or it was weird. Who's the quarterback for Ohio State?
Oh, it's Fields.
Fields from Georgia, right?
That's right.
Yeah. It was weird because I actually had a little time to I was at the desk and didn't really have a lot to do for a little bit, so I was watching some of that game.
Mm-hmm.
And even the announcers commented on it in the beginning because he threw 2 picks in the first quarter.
Yeah, he looked a little rough early.
And it was like, this is the first time he's faced adversity, and he's not doing very well in the face of adversity.
Right.
So that could be an interesting storyline to kind of follow with Ohio State, just kind of through the rest of the season, and obviously, assuming they get through the Big Ten, which should not be a problem.
No.
Yeah, look for it, the Big Ten championship game, but then obviously in the playoffs, I think if you can get to Fields and make him force some mistakes out of him, you saw him kind of go into a shell.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. Outside of that, I think Cincinnati showed everybody that what most people thought outside of Cincinnati.
Right.
Yeah, it's just they're really good. They are. They're a really good team, but I don't think they're playoff worthy. They're just not.
No, and I think there's going to be obviously a lot of conversations with that this week.
Well, the rankings come out tomorrow,
right?
And that's,
exactly.
That could be a real shit show if we end up in the top 4.
Well, and I really, I was commenting. Someone posted about that. He said, "Where do you think A&M ends up?" I personally want us at about 5. And I'm comfortable with us sitting at 5. The only reason is because I don't necessarily want us in the top 4 just yet. I don't think we need to be in the top 4 just yet because we really haven't had a chance to prove it last 2 weeks.
Well, but on the flip side of that,
yeah,
if you're in the top 4 and you haven't played for 2 weeks and now you're about to run off a whole series of games,
yeah,
you have the ability to keep yourself there.
And that's true. And I think that was the nice part, was that you didn't see us fall in the rankings because we didn't play.
Yeah, in fact, we picked up some points on Florida this past week in the rankings, actually.
Right.
So, that was interesting. They struggled with Vandy, kind of like
a little bit, like we did. Yeah.
Well, they didn't struggle quite like we did, but it also wasn't first game. And you figure, this far along in the season, when you've got a Heisman hopeful under center, you shouldn't struggle against Vandy. That's just all there is to it.
So right now, what are your predictions on the top 4 and then the first 2 out?
I don't know about the order. But obviously, I've got Bama in there. I've got Ohio State in there. I've got Notre Dame in there.
Yeah.
And then I think at 4 and 5, Clemson and us are kind of interchangeable.
Right.
And then I think Florida. So it's 4, 5, 6 is some combination of us, Clemson, and Florida.
I think you're right.
And I think probably BYU probably comes in at 7. And then after that, honestly, it's just not going to matter.
No.
If you wanted to, you could put Indiana at 8 or 9.
Honestly,
I'd be okay with that. They got down big on the road. Now, granted, I know it's different on the road this year, but still playing in the horseshoe is what it is. And so you put Indiana down there. You probably put Cincy around 9.
I'm about to say I'd put them ahead of Cincy.
Yeah, they should be in a New Year's Six bowl. I have no problem with that. They're not good enough to be in the playoffs. They're not in that conversation.
And I think there is a talking point that the committee will certainly have, which is, on a normal year when this group of 5 team would play against a higher level Power 5, would they win that game?
Well, and the problem is you can't do any hypotheticals,
No.
and because this year's the way it is,
Right.
we just don't know, and that's also been, and I think it really has provided an extra challenge for the people that do the rankings, because you don't have any sort of way to compare the conferences across, because there really hasn't been a whole lot of non-conference. I mean,
No.
the Big 12 played some non-conference poorly,
No.
but they played non-conference.
Well, and like you look at BYU as an example, they've got a great schedule, but when you're playing North Alabama,
Yeah, they got an easy schedule.
Yeah.
And there's two narratives coming out about this whole UW game.
which
and,
is hilarious.
And to be honest, I haven't read super deep into it, but it sounds like you can kind of go with either narrative, to be honest. Either BYU's, ducking the game. So I don't really care about that because I don't think BYU's going to end up in it anyways.
Probably not.
It doesn't matter when you're beating, like if you're beating people 60-3 when they're as bad as the teams that they're beating are.
Right.
So you can, and it's very obvious that BYU is trying to run up as many style points as possible, and it comes to a point where you're just blowing out shitty teams, and nobody's impressed.
Well, it's like you look at, similar situation. I just watched a video about this. I'm not sure I can't for the life of me remember the coach's name, but there was the head coach that is over at Refugio. And if you recall, whenever he took over at that position, he was known as Halftime Hitler because his whole deal was he changed up his coaching style. Where, typically if you're playing and you're up big on your opponent, you pull your starters like at halftime or sometime at that point and let your other guys, for sportsmanship purposes.
Right.
But he found himself down the stretch in the playoffs, his teams would run out of gas because they weren't playing full games and they would lose in the playoffs. So about 2011, he changed up the style. He said, you know what? I'm going to start playing 3 full quarters with my guys. And so all of a sudden the 50-0, the 60-0 turned into the 80s and 90s to nothing. And a lot of coaches in the district were just like, man, at some point you got to think about the kids. But at the same time, he's like, no, my team is just better than every team in this district.
But you don't get to throw that statement out without including his kids. He's thinking about his kids, and
Exactly.
he wants his kids to win a title. And if
they did.
pulling them at halftime,
Yeah.
keeps them from being like fully game fit to play a full 4 quarters, then you're not doing your own kids any good. So it's
Exactly.
To think about the children line. Good Lord.
I
have
always
mercy.
hate that.
Man, you don't want them to put up 80. Tackle them. Just try tackling.
Well, and here's the crazy part. This is, you're in Texas high school football. If you're a kid that's getting ready to play Texas high school football, you know what you're getting yourself into. It's no holes barred. You go out there and you play hard, for all 48 minutes that you're going to be playing, and that's great. Go out there and kick some butt, take some names, and if you don't, you don't. There at some point you're going to come across a team that's just better, and Refugio is one of those teams, and the coach knows that and has since developed that into a winning thing. So I don't hate the idea of BYU running it up on people because they need to show that. But at the same time, it's the same deal. You're playing a bunch of really bad teams.
They're running it up on people that nobody cares about.
Right.
You go run up the score like that on just literally a P5 team.
Yeah.
Just pick one and run it up. And if you can do that, then the narrative changes. They pick
Yeah.
up that UW game and they go beat Washington 65-7.
Then
we need to talk about BYU.
Right. But the thing is, when you're beating the brakes off of North Alabama, but then winning by a touchdown to UTSA, that's where the problem comes in.
And that's the problem. Their problem is they really can't score a ton of style points.
Right.
But man, they can really screw themselves, and the UTSA game is one of those things.
Yeah.
They really can't help their narrative anymore, but they can certainly hurt it. And the UTSA game was a perfect example of that.
Oh, no doubt.
But
And so,
I see us, 4 or 5 somewhere in there, in front of Florida. The polls have had us in front of Florida, so we'll stay there because that's the head.
Yeah, right. And still to this day, I do agree that if at some point they decide that Florida just has more style points and they somehow jump us, regardless of how the rest of the season pans out, I will give Florida a little more credit in the fact that they do control their destiny better than we do. Their whole shtick is obviously we have to win out, but Florida, if they win out, will make the playoff as a one-loss team.
Well, if Florida wins out, then Bama's going to be the 4th team in the playoffs.
Exactly. It'll just be Florida jumping in at 3 and Bama falls to 4.
Yeah. So but Florida's not going to be Bama.
They're not.
The people haven't even talking about this conversation talking about, the Bama defense may be a little bit more suspect. Yeah, sure, a little bit more suspect, but a suspect Alabama defense is still really damn good on defense.
Tell you, it's still like a top 20 defense.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
And Florida does, and Alabama's scary when they have a really, really good offense.
For sure.
And they have a really, really good offense. Najee Harris is insane, and he's going to have a field day against Florida. I feel like he could run for 250 yards in the SEC championship.
I think he will. And, I think just Alabama, regardless of what ends up happening, I think Alabama is just on a different level than everybody else this year. I think even with, Waddle out, I think they're just that level of a team.
They've been on a different level for 10 years. It's just a couple of years Clemson joined the level.
Yeah. And
that's really all it is.
And so I think obviously that weekend, assuming everything else pans out and we do what we're supposed to do, take care of business in the games we play, I think it's going to be a very interesting weekend with Clemson and Notre Dame, and obviously with Alabama and Florida. I think that's going to be the much less, entertaining game from my perspective.
I don't think the SEC championship game will be very entertaining.
No.
And Notre Dame Clemson will be interesting because Notre Dame took overtimes to beat Clemson, right?
Right.
And they beat a Trevor Lawrence-less Clemson.
Right.
So if Clemson comes out and wins by 14 points, there's no reason to see that rematch because it just proves the fact that you can beat Clemson when they don't have their star quarterback.
Right.
So I don't see the ACC getting into. Because if Notre Dame beats Clemson again, they're 2 losses and they're done.
Right.
And
that's only assuming Notre Dame doesn't drop a game between now and then either.
Yeah, and so you have, and I love that the SEC was open to playing on the championship weekend. So you're going to have the opportunity to really, truly put that stamp on it on the weekend when there's not a ton of other football.
Right.
So you'll have that opportunity, and that's going to be huge too. So and like you said, you still got to go out and take care of business. But other than that, there wasn't a ton of just interesting football, to be honest.
No, I mean, you finally had finally Liberty finally took a loss, but obviously they really weren't in the conversation.
I'm starting to even maybe just scratch the surface of believing Arkansas fans and their conspiracy theory.
I gotta tell you, man, it just outside of our game, the games they have lost have been with some drawback from the officiating. You would think.
It was bad.
You would think that the SEC would at least buy them a steak dinner and flowers for as often as they're screwing them. Man, it's rough.
But, the old saying, don't put yourself in a position where officiating can cost you the game. And Arkansas will get there. They're just not there yet. And that's all there is to it.
No, and so that's one of those deals. I feel bad. But at the same time, I don't because
I don't feel bad at all. I just think it's starting to get a little insane.
It is,
and I'm particularly me. I was mad about it because I picked Arkansas to cover.
Right, and unfortunately,
But when you're playing, against 11 football players and 4 officials, things change.
Yeah, they're the 12th man on the team.
But so we got our game with LSU, and my site has it at 14-point spread.
That's what I saw last as well.
So that's what it's sitting at. Like literally, I have it pulled up. So right now, I don't know what it opened, but it's at 14.
It was like 14 and a half.
Yeah, I don't think it's moved much.
No.
There's a lot of stuff I see, online, Twitter and text tags, people talking about, LSU worries me and concerned about this game.
Right.
And I would place, and I might place, a sizable amount of money on us to cover the spread.
I think the one thing that worries me more about this game than anything is the fact that we have not played for 2 weeks. And because it is tough to get back on a winning streak when you are off of it. But at the same time, I just think across the board we're, once again, a far more talented team. And I think far more importantly, key players that need to heal up got healed up.
We got healthy. I have no concern about this game. I'm going to enjoy us, and I think Jim Balls understands we're going to need little style points.
No doubt.
And he said in his press conference something along the lines of revenge can cloud your judgment or something like that.
Well, true.
So he's not gonna run the score up just because they did it last year. But I think he understands that we need to leave the gas on the pedal a little bit longer.
I think we need to win this game. I think just for my confidence sake, mere minimum 3 scores. And the reason why I want a 3-score game is just because, one, that does cover the quote-unquote revenge factor for the fans. But more importantly, I don't want to be in a dogfight with this team. Because there's just so many factors where you look at what a mental block might be on a football team. You look across the line and you see the Alabama A on the dude's chest. You see the stripe down the middle of the helmet, and your brain immediately turns off because you're like, oh, God, it's Alabama. I think A&M has had the issue where we line across from LSU and we see the LSU on the chest.
I don't. I think that's giving LSU entirely too much credit because they were good last year.
Well,
you got to realize we're a young team. They had one game and they don't care about that. Then you combine that with the fact that these kids watch football. They pay attention to stuff. And LSU sucks this year, and that's all there is to it.
Yeah.
And if you want to talk about getting into a dogfight with them, we got into a dogfight with Florida, who is a far superior team to LSU.
Oh, sure.
And we beat them. And we honestly, we left a lot of points on the field, in the Florida game. So if it ends up into a dogfight, it won't be a dogfight for very long.
No.
I'm 100% confident we cover the spread. And 3 scores would be great, but I mean, if you cover the spread, you're basically talking 2 or 3 scores.
Right.
And that's I think when you're talking about looking at the logo and all this, that may have more effect on the ranking person. The people that do the rankings.
Sure.
They smoked LSU, and we understand LSU's down, but man, it's still LSU. So I think we win. I think we win going away. I think the keys to it are going to be all 3 of our running backs just going buck wild all over LSU.
Which I think, especially from a factor that I have not considered yet, but somebody brought up a good point. The weather may be a factor Saturday night. From what we're seeing, they're saying 50% chance
yeah, it's supposed to be rainy. Yeah.
So there's a very good possibility that the run game is going to be very prevalent. And in that sense, I like us very much so.
Well, and then because our rushing defense is good, and then you factor in the fact that if you're going to throw the ball, it's going to be short for the most part. If you're going to air it out, you got to air it out early when the balls are still somewhat dry.
Right.
And if short passing is what you got to look at, you have what has turned into some good possession receivers on the outside.
Of course.
And you got Weidermeyer.
We got Weidermeyer, who's going to be great. I mean, Spiller, Smith, and of course A-Chain. They're going to be a nice little running back stable that's going to keep the pressure on this defense. And I think you're just going to see what we did to South Carolina. I think you'll see what we ended up doing to Arkansas.
Wear them down.
I'm about to say we're just going to wear them down. So by the time we're about halfway through the third quarter, the defense is just so gassed that they can't keep up.
Yeah, and the nice thing about, when you have a game where you're going to have to run quite a bit, you chew up a lot of clock too. So
exactly.
If you can keep moving the chains with the running game, on the flip side of that coin is your defense feels pretty good, well rested. Not going to have a problem getting through 4 quarters, coming off of 2 weeks off. Although, again, it's not like these guys were sitting in their apartments playing Xbox for 2 weeks. These guys were keeping up with what they're doing. They were healing. So you almost really you hate that we had to postpone 2 games, but you love the fact that we got these 2 bye weeks to really kind of get well, get healthy. A lot of film on LSU.
Yeah, plenty.
Because you're talking about basically having 2 weeks to prep for LSU at that point. So yeah, I'm not concerned about the game. I'm really not.
I think the other, and I know this is not a factor, but it's something that I thought was really interesting. If you look at Arkansas, if you look at LSU this year, it's literally been loss, win, loss, win, loss, win. So at this point, this is the bottom of the roller coaster again for them.
Yeah, you'd have to look at their schedule, but just to see kind of how that worked out. It's a little goofy.
But you lose against a bad Mississippi State team, beat the brakes off of Vanderbilt. Lose to a Missouri team who, honestly, they're proving to be a little bit more middle ground than anything. You beat a South Carolina team who has proven to be not very good.
They're just bad.
You lost to an Auburn team who's also just wonky. And you lost that game bad. And then you turn around and you beat Arkansas off we'll go ahead and call it what it was, some bullshit at the end. But fact of the matter is you're coming into Kyle Field with a well-rested, ready, hungry Texas A&M team.
Well, I'm looking forward to next week because I want to talk a lot about Auburn.
Yeah.
But I don't think Auburn's any good.
Let me say that, in particular with that game, one thing I'm really thrilled about is that game is no longer the last game on our schedule. Because I feel like Auburn has always had that kind of goofy air around them whenever we play them. Because that game has gone so many different ways. And I think the fact that it's not like the last game where we're going to be sitting here like, oh God, let's hope we don't screw this up. It's more just a middle of the schedule. Hey, let's go get them.
Well, I think you're also seeing that, in the years that we've been in the SEC, even playing Auburn, the talent level on the rosters was equal, or maybe they were a little better one year, we were a little better another year.
Right.
But what you're going to see this year is the talent on the field. There's a bigger disparity between our talent and theirs. So, and that's why, and we'll get into Auburn next week, but
no doubt.
But I don't think Auburn's that good. I know they beat Tennessee, but
Tennessee's not very good either.
Tennessee's bad.
Yeah, like I said, it's going to be a kind of a wild week.
It's rivalry week. Rivalry week. Yeesh.
Phrases of the day. But you've got, the thing is, you end up losing a couple of good rivalry games because of cross-conference not happening. But overall, you're going to have Kentucky going to Florida, which is going to be an absolute Florida stomp. Let's just go ahead and call it what it's going to be. You have Arkansas and Missouri, which, that's a pair of teams that are kind of middle conference. It's at Missouri. I think Arkansas might make that an interesting game.
That might be a game that's fun to watch.
Sure.
I mean, just in the sense it should be a real competitive football game, but even then, like Arkansas, Missouri, I won't be watching
any chance the Iron Bowl gets wild again? Granted, of course, it's in Tuscaloosa, so I don't think so.
No, there's none. And if you're an A&M fan, you're hoping that Alabama just beats the brakes off of Auburn, because then they go into the next week with just that hanging over their heads, and so you're obviously you're rooting for Bama anyways, because you don't want them to have a loss.
No.
But you would like to see Auburn demoralized in the Iron Bowl.
No doubt. Because how often? I mean, never really has Auburn had to follow up the Iron Bowl with another game the next week.
Yeah, they can't put it all on the line for the Iron Bowl because they got to play the next week.
Exactly.
And that's one of those things where take a peek at it, because
it'll be a good game to follow along with.
Well, in the sense, keep an eye on it, because in rivalry games things get heated. Any key defensive players, any targeting that occurs in the second half would have a positive effect for us, because they're missing a half of football. So just keep an eye on it. It's just kind of one of those things. Another thing to kind of put a pin in, and so it'll be interesting. That's the Iron Bowl. I always watch the Iron Bowl. It's
right.
Good.
So, and then you got, the Egg Bowl this year, which I think, just from a personality standpoint, it's going to be a fun game to watch.
So bad.
Just from the coaches.
It's just terrible football.
I mean, you got your combined record in this game is 5-9 coming into it. I just think, Ole Miss is a 9.5-point favorite at home. And I like the Pirate to do something goofy.
Yeah, that's 9.5. That's a big number for a rivalry game when both teams suck.
Yeah, I think Mississippi State covers that. Obviously, our game's going. But you've got Georgia, South Carolina, because Georgia's not playing, what was it? Good old-fashioned hate? Or clean old-fashioned hate, whatever they call it.
Georgia Auburn, good old-fashioned hate.
No, that's the South's oldest rivalry.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you had Georgia, South Carolina. Of course, Georgia's like a 21.5-point favorite. That being said, Georgia got in a bit of a dogfight, no pun intended, with Mississippi State.
Yeah, that was one score that I was trying to kind of keep along with that. That was, late in the, not late in the game, but pretty late in the game. I mean, that was a tie game.
It was a tight game. It was.
No, it was tied.
Yeah.
I mean, it was tight, but it was a tie game, and Georgia had to go and win that game.
Yeah.
At Georgia against Mississippi State. So that should tell you all you kind of need to know about Georgia, if you didn't get that from watching the Florida-Georgia game.
Right. And then, of course, you got yourself the Butt Bowl of the week over in Tennessee, on the road at Vanderbilt. But they're like a 12-point favorite.
Go Vandy.
Go Vandy.
Yeah.
We've said it all year. I don't want Vandy to go over, but they're probably going to.
Yeah.
Go Vandy.
Yeah, it's rivalry week in the SEC, so whatever.
Yeah, it should be a ton of fun.
It's like you said, it's weird because we've got games after this. LSU is normally how we close it out. We've got Auburn the next week, and then we've still got Tennessee, and we've got Ole Miss. In that order or flip flopped.
And I just wonder how much
I would love for Tennessee to end up being the last game on championship, because we'll stomp Tennessee.
Right.
You could beat Ole Miss by 14, but if they put up 30 or 35, you're not going to feel real good about it.
No, and I think honestly going into those last several games, you got to wonder just what the motivation is going to be for those two teams. I mean, because here's the thing: once you've gotten to the point now where you've already gone past rivalry week and you really don't have a ton to play for, you've lost pride. you've already played for Pride and got what you needed out of the season, what's the chance you're going to phone it in against A&M? Because you're just not on the same level.
Well, and also just taking a look around college football, people still opting out, still deciding to hang up the cleats for the season. So it's, you could also be looking at situations like that where we're going into Ole Miss or Tennessee, and they've got 4 or 5 key players that decided they're just going to go prep for the draft.
Right.
So yeah, it can be a lot of.
There's a lot of factors.
Yeah.
There's a ton of factors.
But again, right now it's just go beat the tar at LSU.
Yeah, that's the one thing we can do, one thing we should do. So fingers crossed on that. I think, like I said, I think we're a pretty comfortable favorite, and I think we will cover. I think there's going to be it'll probably be a little hairy early. People are going to freak out on Texags, and we'll end up pulling away, and everybody will be happy.
Yeah, I don't think Jimbo will coach for revenge, but I think the players will definitely be just fine with running the score up.
And trust me, there's plenty of fans that feel that way.
Yeah,
so me being one of them.
It's not like we have a ton of true freshmen on the starting 22. So these guys remember last year.
Yeah, no, they remember, and they're gonna bring it to them.
Well, and I think who's gonna have probably the most fun in the LSU game is the big men. Like our offensive line up front are just gonna road grade.
Dude, goons are out here. I mean, they're on national lists and things right now because people recognize what they're doing, and props to them because. I feel like we've had several years now where they have not been as much of a factor as we wanted them to be. And then this year they've just, going back and watching the Pulse when they talked about on that Florida drive, when it just all clicked for them, like, we can beat these guys.
Yeah, it's something we clamor for every year. We're going to need better offensive line play. We're going to need better offensive line play. And this year we've got it.
Yeah.
This year we've had incredibly better, markedly better play from the offensive line, and it shows. It shows across your entire offense, not just the run game.
Oh yeah. So as we go, so I did want to take a quick deviation, knowing that this is Thanksgiving week. One things we wanted to talk about on the podcast was just things that we're thankful for in this time of year. I know.
Well, and Thanksgiving itself.
Yeah.
We can talk a little food.
Oh yeah, we can definitely talk food. Yeah. Yeah. No, this isn't just a sports podcast after all. We do enjoy some food. Man.
But yeah, I talked about it, being such a hectic week, and with Thanksgiving week. But don't ever register any of that as complaints coming from me. I'm very fortunate to be able to be stressed in this manner.
Right.
I'm stressed about work, and then my the restaurant, and stressed about feeding my family, and just in the manner of doing it right, and putting up Christmas lights, and all this stuff is stuff that I love. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Thanksgiving week is always, it's probably, it's Christmas is my favorite holiday, but right. Thanksgiving's got to be pretty close. This year's gonna suck. I understand that.
For sure.
We're not, my folks aren't coming up. We're not going down to see my folks. So it sucks, but we're gonna have a good time. I'm able to spend the day with my family and hang out and eat too much food and watch football and watch the god awful Cowboys and I'm thankful for so many things. Honestly, I bitch and moan about a poopy reserves weekend, but I'm thankful that I get to serve my country. I'm thankful that I still get to serve in the reserves. Yeah. I'm thankful that I have all this stress in my life because if I had nothing going on, I'd have a real complaint. But
exactly,
it's such a great week to just kind of, it builds up into this family day. That's really what it is, and everybody's got their Thanksgiving traditions, but a lot of them across the country are really similar. The turkey, the stuffing, all that stuff, the football, the naps.
Oh yeah, the naps. The naps. Oh, the naps are the best part.
But personally, I'm thankful. I'm thankful that I have a job. I'm thankful for employment. I'm thankful for my home. I'm thankful for my family.
Yeah.
My wife and my daughter and my parents, my sisters and their families. I'm a very fortunate and blessed person in life. So I'm thankful for all that. I'm thankful for the friends I've made. Thankful for Texas A&M.
Yeah.
And above all of it, I'm thankful that Jesus is my Lord and Savior. So it's this is no matter it's one of those things where you have to put life in perspective when you start complaining.
Right.
But one thing I'm also thankful of is the ability that I've been blessed with the ability to be able to give back.
Right.
And this is, you're really hitting that time of the year where it's important to give back. And this year there's a lot more ways to help others out in need. In 2020, we had somebody donate a bunch of our meal packages, so
Right.
I'll be delivering some meals. And then I've got I've got a family that we're gonna buy all the stuff so they can have a Thanksgiving dinner for themselves. It's if you can't take it to the grave with you, man. So when you can give, and it's such a wonderful, great feeling to be able to help others out. Anyways,
Right.
it's literally the lifeblood of humanity is charity.
Mm-hmm.
So. Yeah, I could be on a soapbox all day about
Yeah.
about giving, but I'm thankful for so many things.
Yeah.
I'm also thankful for the food, though.
Yeah, I'm pretty thankful, honestly, at this point in my young life where I'm at. It's just with as many different things that have gone on and all the changes that have taken place, there's just a lot of things that have stayed the same. I've got a great family that have always been really supportive of me and what I do, and happy to lend an ear anytime I need to talk an ear off. Or I'm thankful for all my friends, both near and far. You know who you are, who have been so supportive of what I do, despite all my BS that that I end up putting out there. Thankful for, of course, the opportunity to just be able to live out my passion and play music. It's one of those deals where I'm not making money enough to say, hey, this is my career, but it's enough to keep my pay for an extra meal or two on the week, and that's good enough to keep myself going. I'm thankful that I'm currently in a job situation where I actually enjoy what I do, which is not something I was saying a year ago and not something I was saying the year before that. So I'm certainly happy that I'm able to do that at this point in my life. But once again, I'm kind of reiterating on what you said, but I'm also very thankful just for the many blessings that my family have been given, and obviously thanking God and everybody else that that has been such a big part of my life lately. Just because I feel like there's so many different things that are pulling at me, both personal, things I don't necessarily have to get in on here on the podcast, but it just feels like there's so many things that I could complain about and probably have the right to complain about, but at the same time, it's not something I think is worth talking about because there's so many better things out there right now. I don't submit myself to the negative, the negative worries that you see on social media anymore. I've opened up to the idea that where we are currently, it's just so much better that we just look at each other and smile. Share that fun post. Don't worry about election results. Don't worry about what so-and-so said about so-and-so on Twitter. Don't worry about any of that stuff. Be open to the positive things. And it's tough to find them, but you dig a little under the surface and you'll find something there.
Well, and I think one of the more important aspects in life of leading a good, healthy, and enjoyable life is just to be grateful about the things that you have, and never take what you have for granted, and never take for granted the help of those in your life that have that's gotten you to the point that you're at. It's not all them helping you, but it's not all you doing it all. So it's whether that's family, whether that's friends, whether it's your faith. You kind of lean into the hard times in life, and you lean into things that are are going to be difficult, but it's because you have that support system. So, but heading into Thanksgiving, and I'll hit on this again though. This is really the time. Go through your closets. It's still not cold.
No,
not here in Texas, but get in your closets. Get out old jackets. Blankets. If you can. I know that time is a hot commodity, and with COVID, people are going to be hesitant to maybe go volunteer certain places. But if you have money, give. if you can't, not everybody can financially just fork over money to charity, but just find a way to give and help the people in your community. Because no matter what community you're in, there are people in need, and it's getting to that time of year where
Right.
those needs are amplified, and we're talking about just human needs.
Right. Well,
He's not talking about needing an Xbox.
Right. Volunteering time. Like if you can, if you can't, obviously financially, if you find yourself being able to help out with either Brazos Valley Food Bank, any of that kind of
your
stuff.
local food bank, local shelter,
whatever it is.
So it's just one of those things.
Right. So, safe to say, it's just where we're currently at. Just, I think it's very important for us to obviously give at this time, and I'm more than happy to do it the best way I can. I've been tipping generously at restaurants and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, again, monetarily, if you can help with money, then do that. But and don't forget one of the most important things that you can give, and that's your emotional support and your friendship.
Always.
The holidays are also a time when people get depressed, and when you combine holidays with the fact that there's a lot of travel restrictions, and
Sure.
People can't do this or go there, so it's reach out to your friends, make sure they're doing all right. Reach out to your family, let them know you're doing well. Talk to your family, hop on Zoom or MS Teams or whatever you use.
Right.
And if you can't physically spend time with your family, you can at least see them and talk to them, and same with your friends. So it's, I love this time of year, but with this time of year comes a greater responsibility. And what it all boils down to is being a good person and trying to help the people around you. And we talk about that a lot.
Yeah. And of course, one thing for me is, my DMs are always open. If you want to talk about something, you want to ask me a question, you want to just kind of vent, any of that fun stuff, I've been that open door for people. I'm happy to stay that open door because, I like to think that I've got most of my ducks in a row most of the time, but I'm always happy to lend an ear. And so that's something I'm opening it up to you guys. So feel free to shoot me a message if you ever want to talk about anything.
Yeah, my DMs are closed. Leave me alone. I'm the same way. I've always enjoyed being able to be there, and even if I can't help, I can at least lend a listening ear. And I've been around the block a lot of times at this point. So, in the holidays, if there's anything, if I probably get hit up more for recipes than anything else. So if you have any questions about that, feel free. Speaking of recipes, we got to get into food because it's Thanksgiving.
Yeah, let's get on it.
We're a turkey family. I know some people are like,
sure.
I don't know.
No ham, man.
I don't understand people that don't like turkey. I've never understood it, and I get that it's like you may not like it because it's dry. Well, then cook it better because turkey isn't dry if you don't screw it up.
Right. Are you light meat or dark meat?
Yes.
Just yes.
Dude, just straight up. Every time I go back to the bird, a little bit of both.
A little bit of both.
My daughter is a turkey leg person, so she always just grabs one of the legs off the turkey.
There you go.
So my plate. So one of the things that we do. So we do normally do mashed potatoes. We do sweet potatoes. We do green bean casserole, obviously. Dressing. And then we do our family green rice recipe, which is phenomenal. It's broccoli, little celery, little onion, cheesy, happy goodness.
Right.
And then we don't really do cranberry sauce in this house.
No, we don't either.
We do 2 gravies normally. I'm trying to think. Rolls, pie.
Right.
But we do it up. So my plate is I need to start buying Thanksgiving plates. And by Thanksgiving plate, I mean approximately 140% the size of current plates I use for
oversized
dinner.
Plates.
Yeah, I just need like a service platter. But yeah, so but my favorite things, like when I sit down, because you make your plate and you sit down, like what do you go after first, kind of thing,
Right.
So this year we're gonna change it up a little bit. We're gonna do our mashed potatoes. We're doing kind of like a creamy roasted garlic, and then the sweet potatoes I'm actually just gonna cube and I'm gonna roast with just butter and brown sugar.
Nice.
Yeah, nothing crazy. A little cinnamon.
That'll work.
But like I'm a turkey dude, man. I've always been a meat and potatoes guy, anyways.
Right.
So I go absolutely after the turkey. And oh, by the way, I put the gravy on everything. Like once everything's on my plate, then it literally just gets coated in gravy.
Oh boy.
Well, I mean, why wouldn't you? I mean, otherwise, what are you going to do with the rolls if you don't have a lake of gravy on your plate when you're done?
Right.
So,
swim.
But yeah, no, I love turkey. I would cook turkey five or six times a year if I could find good sized ones at cheap prices.
Yeah, it's definitely with turkey. I mean, we like turkey where we're at. The family will serve ham as well, but I'm just not about that.
Yeah, we never grew up doing that. Ham was Christmas. So, like growing up, if we had a big Christmas, like we had family coming, like a lot of extended family coming in, we'd do a turkey and a ham.
Okay.
But now that, when we do Christmases, it's not as big. So, it's normally just a ham. My folks normally get like a honey baked, and then if my sister and her family in Houston were like meeting us there, I'd bring one of our holiday hams from Good Bowl.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's turkey all the way for me, man. And I get it. Like I like brisket too, obviously.
Right.
And I'm Texan and brisket, blah blah blah. Dude, if you do turkey properly, it's phenomenal. I'm going to buy my turkey tonight. By tomorrow, it'll be thawed out. Mm-hmm. That means tomorrow it goes in the brine. Tomorrow is Tuesday. That means I get 48 hours in the brine.
Right.
All right. And here's a simple concept for you, real quick. If you need a recipe, you don't want to go buy a pre-made brine. It's salt, white sugar, brown sugar. I put in a little bit of hot sauce. It doesn't spice it up. It actually all the spiciness cooks out. I put in Worcestershire. I put in soy sauce. So it's a high sodium, but again, that's kind of what a brine is. Mm-hmm. And then I put sage and thyme, and I'll put a little bit of garlic and a little bit of onion powder. So there's a lot in there, and then just fill it up with water. But it completely changes your turkey. If you're the person that says I don't like turkey because it's dry, then brine it and it won't be dry.
Right. Oh boy, man.
I don't deep fry turkeys anymore. I used to. I still got the stuff, but I'll probably do another deep fried turkey another year or two.
And so we never did a deep fried turkey. We were always, like I said, we just did kind of standard turkey. We did the same thing with green bean casserole. The only condiment you didn't mention that was definitely the go-to for us. We do macaroni and cheese. We do the baked.
See, we don't. That's not something we do here. But like the green rice casserole is so cheesy. Like
right, it serves its purpose.
Yeah, it's got rice. If I wanted to make it with noodles instead, I could.
Right. Yeah, so
man, I should totally make it with noodles.
There you go. We always did it with we did the mac and cheese just like the baked in the pan. But and then homemade dinner rolls that are just absolutely to die for. I end up getting like 3 or 4 of those, and I hate myself afterwards.
Right.
That's I'm the guy, unfortunately, that goes to Roadhouse that you hand out the rolls.
Yeah.
And I sit there and
you never make it to dinner.
I can't make it to dinner. So I'm making a point that if I'm on a date, for any of you ladies out there, we're limiting ourselves to 1 damn basket of rolls because we got to get past that. I will take 2, you get 2, life is good. I can't go past that.
I tell you, last year, so the yeast rolls, you set them out so they'll kind of rise a little bit.
Yeah, of course.
Last year, I don't know if it was maybe the temp in the house or maybe we weren't paying enough attention.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh man, the rolls, and I went to check on the rolls, and I am not shitting you. These things were like maybe 5-6 inch diameter, and I was like, oh shit.
I'm about to say that was a healthy rise.
Yeah. I don't know what happened, but it was hilarious.
Were they watching dirty videos?
I don't know, man. But what's funny about though is we cooked we baked them. And they were like so airy and fluffy on the inside because they'd risen so much. So it was like this wonderful mistake. But
that's all right. It's all good. Let's say Thanksgiving food, delicious.
Oh yeah,
love it.
It's always 2 plates, a nap, and then another plate.
Yeah.
Growing up, it was always leftover turkey, TV tray, turn on the game against the Sips.
Right.
And the Cowboys don't want to play like during the day.
Yeah,
and that's kind of dangerous for me because the Cowboys kind of play during my nap time.
Yeah, no kidding. That's just the whole family. We're Eastern New Mexico, West Texas, so everybody over there is a big Cowboys fan.
Oh, that's now that I think about it, though, that's kind of a blessing. Like
right, yeah, this year.
Yeah, if I take a nap, I won't have to watch the Cowboys look like crap.
Well, the thing is, you get the traditional matchup this year. Granted, it's against the team redacted.
Yeah, right.
Against the Cowboys,
team redacted.
But and you get the Texans, and here you go, Texas people.
Who are the Texans playing?
They're playing the Lions.
That's right.
Yeah, and
that's right because the Cowboys and the Lions always play on Thanksgiving.
Right, and then of course the nightcap, which is. Yeah, that's a game relevant to me. Ravens coming up to Pittsburgh for the Steelers.
See, for me, I like the fact that the Cowboys and the Lions always play on Thanksgiving. I think the Cowboys should always play Washington. And I
I
think
agree.
the Lions should always play the Packers.
Well, yeah, Green Bay.
Or at least just in division. So they either play the Packers, the Bears, or the Vikings. We
Right.
should always play an NFC East team.
Yeah, it needs to be rust. It needs to be rust belt games, and then NFC East.
Make it
Right.
kind of a rivalry thing for the. I mean, like the Steelers Ravens. That's a rivalry.
It's a good rivalry game. It's a
Yeah.
fun one.
So
I mean, I'm looking forward to that. Should be a fun weekend. I say weekend, but yeah, Thursday basically will be. And the rest of the lineup really wasn't paying attention to the NFL. However, we did want to start doing a little bit more dive in because we both are fans of the EPL. So here's your 5-minute boom. If you're into EPL, here we are.
maybe 5 minutes.
Maybe
try.
5 minutes. We'll see how much we can get in.
Yeah.
But no, fun week in the EPL across the board. I think. Want to touch on your match?
I got to watch a good bit of it because the game was 8 a.m. here on Sunday, and we turned in weapons at like 6:30 in the morning.
Right.
So we had some downtime. So watched the match. Kind of typical West Ham, play down to bad opponents, play really well, play up to good opponents.
Right.
It was really goofy match. Sheffield came out really hot in like the first 5 minutes, and it was just like pucker up and hold, brace for impact.
Right.
But game was all right. 3 points is, that's a game that last year we dropped.
Right.
In fact, that was a game last year that we dropped, and Fabianski got hurt, and he was out for a while.
Right. 3 points is 3 points.
Yeah, and we needed 3 points, especially coming off such a difficult October.
Right.
You were really looking at the matches in November as like these were the matches you had to get points out of because you didn't think you were really going to get much of anything, if anything, out of October. We managed to scratch out 7-8 points through the beginning of the season. So, but yeah, I'm on record for saying I hate international breaks. I'm sick of them.
Man, you're not even kidding.
It's not even the COVID stuff. I just hate international breaks. I think they're dumb, and especially like
For
during time of
friendlies.
COVID. During time of COVID, like you're legitimately going to send people to like Madagascar. Like, what are you doing?
Right. Well, you had a bunch of friendlies that took place, and unfortunately, especially for us, for Liverpool, they had a bunch of injuries and people that caught COVID. So that was a problem for us. That just absolutely was rough.
Well, I tell you what, you want to talk about Premier League though today.
Yeah.
So today was the Burnley game and the Wolves Southampton game.
Right.
And Burnley hadn't won yet, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know what, they're due. So I bet on Burnley to win the match today. Mm-hmm. And I'll just tell you that the odds were definitely in my favor betting wise.
Sure.
So yeah, that was one of those. Man, they got to be due. And so Burnley wins. So I cash out.
Right.
And in the Southampton Wolves game, I bet on the draw.
And there you go.
I bet to a draw, and they drew today. So I had a successful Premier League gambling day today.
That's good.
So amidst all the running around.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We don't play until Monday, so I'll kind of have the weekend to relax. I'll watch a little Premier League. And the Monday matches I like because they're in the afternoon. So, I'm working. I can just flip the TV on because I work right there, on the couch. So I'll be able to watch the match while I'm working. So, but I'm excited for this week, and I'm going to tell you this right now. All right, this old Liverpool crap. The first part of the season, y'all could not get VAR to go for you.
Nope.
And now VAR is kissing your ass. It's like it's trying to make up for it, and it wouldn't have mattered because you guys won 3-0. I mean,
yeah.
You can make the case that it matters because obviously when a goal is scored, it really just changes the complex of a game to an extent. But that was an egregiously terrible call, though. You got to admit.
Well, no, it absolutely was. And the thing is, it was a terrible call.
We got hosed by it too.
I'm about to say, it's a terrible call. It's no fun. But at the same time, unfortunately, that's the way it goes. It gives, it takes, and I'm not a big fan of it. But if they're going to allow it, they're going to allow it, and that allows me to complain about it later.
Well, then maybe Arkansas should ask for VAR instead of instant replay,
No
so eventually they can start getting the good side of it.
Right. but overall, I will take the Liverpool match as it was, considering the pieces we are missing.
You know what was really nice? To be able to watch a Liverpool match and not see Mo Salah take a dive for no contact.
Yeah, well,
He's phenomenal at that, though. Like, it's literally a part of his game.
Oh, sure.
And it's one of those things where it's like in any major sport in the world. We see in the NFL, we see
NBA,
it
man.
everywhere in the NBA. If you're a star, you get the call.
Right. I mean, Harden, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, and if you know it, you're going to keep doing it.
Right.
So I mean, I don't fault him. I mean, if they're going to keep calling it, I'd keep diving too.
Well, and that's
Why not?
Well, and that's just it. The thing is, I am not a fan of that aspect of the game. But the fact of the matter is, it's no
But
different.
it's an aspect of the game.
It's no different than anybody else doing it because everybody friggin' does it. The problem is, he's a top goal scorer and he does it.
The only thing that I've been surprised about the Premier League is I remember a couple years back they talked about they were really going to start trying to root out diving,
And they tried that for a while.
and they quit.
It's like, and I think the wild part is, especially with VAR going around, you'd think they would create that as part of a review process.
Yeah.
But, unfortunately, apparently that's
And
not part of the game right now.
Well, and I saw it today in the Wolves game. It was just some incredibly terrible and pathetic dives, and that's all they were. There was little to no contact, and then on the flip side of that, you had Traore running up and down the side, like straight up bulldozing people, and they didn't call him for anything for the first part of the game, and then they called him for everything the second part of the match.
Yeah,
and it's
inconsistent.
God, watching Premier League is like watching the SEC. The officiating's terrible.
Yeah.
It's the best league out there, and the officiating sucks.
Yeah, and I think one thing I will say that I'm, call it what it is. I think it's rather impressive. But Liverpool at this point now, granted, with COVID and everything, it doesn't make a ton of difference. But they have now set an unbeaten streak of 64 games at Anfield at this point in time. It's just absolute fortress for them. And I'll take it for what it is. We're currently sharing top dog on the table with old Tottenham, for all of you wonderful Tottenham individuals out there. And so
dude, like next Sunday is Chelsea Tottenham, and if there isn't a bigger I want to barf on the table match. In my world.
That's the ultimate. I want a 0-0 draw with like maybe 2 shots on goal
and like
match.
9 red cards.
Yeah, I mean, I just want it to be a god awful match, because honestly, for me, because those are the 2 teams that are floating right around us there at the top. Screw them.
Well, then y'all get them midway through December. So
yeah, basically, we get Tottenham twice. We get them in mid-December, then we get them right at the end of January. So we get Tottenham pretty quick on both of those matches.
Yeah, it's a pretty quick turnaround.
Yeah.
But all right, but we'll stop with the Premier League.
It's all good.
If anyone hasn't turned it off at this point, we're still here.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's man, I love Premier League. But hey, so we wanted to change things up a little bit. We're gonna kind of probably start fading back to we're certainly gonna talk Aggie sports, and we're certainly gonna talk football during football season, but. We're going to get back to talking about topics that aren't sports.
Yeah.
So, and Thanksgiving obviously was an easy one. That was a 50-meter target for us.
Right.
So again, I'm thankful for all y'all out there listening.
Yeah. All 5 of you, we love you.
Yes, all 5 of you. Tell 2 of your friends, and they tell 2 friends, and so on.
Eventually, it'll be a whole thing.
Yeah. But I'm thankful for y'all listening. I'm thankful for you, Rob. Thankful for everything you do, and. Rob does everything on this podcast. Literally, all I do is sit here and talk. So but I'm thankful for everything I have in my life, and take this time during the holiday season to find a way to reach out and give and help people in your community, because any sort of change ever in the history of mankind starts right here in your backyard, kind of thing.
Right.
So that's all I got. I to be honest, I probably really should go get a turkey tonight. I've got to wake up super early and go to my VA appointment down in Houston tomorrow.
Fun. I get to drive back to New Mexico tomorrow, so.
Oh, gig it. Well, be safe, obviously.
That's the plan, yeah.
Be safe. Don't get any tickets.
No, I'm rolling with the dogs, so she's gonna end up causing at least a couple stops, which is cool with me, but.
Yeah, solo road trips can be brutal, so, stopping and stretching your legs every once in a while is the worst thing.
Yeah.
And then maybe she'll get pissed off because you have to stop because you have to go to potty break.
No, she'll be sitting in there just like, Dad, what are you doing?
How long is that drive?
Well, from here, so it's...
how far is it from, once you're at El Paso?
Oh, God. El Paso's further than Carlsbad is. Just.
Oh, it is?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You got to understand, yes, New Mexico, there are many portions of New Mexico that are a lot closer than El Paso.
So you drive kind of northwest, really.
So, yeah, basically what I do is I cut north. I'll go basically Highway 6 all the way to 20. The way I used to do is I used to cut over 36, so we do like Temple, Gatesville, all that crap up to Abilene. But now I've found it's a little bit quicker to go north if I just stay 6 and just go through Dublin and whatnot up to 20, and then cut over like whatever that town is, Cisco.
Was it like 18 hours?
It's about, with the potty stops for the dog, about 9.
Seems like a million hours.
I'm about to say it's about 8 hours if I just hop in and go.
Yeah, what's funny, I've noticed this from time to time. Mentally, I place College Station a lot further east than it is.
Right, and it's far enough east, but for that drive, I have to commit a day to go do it.
Yeah,
but it's
a day.
It is a day, and versus where the old drive I used to do, this was the worst way we used to do it. And I don't know why the hell we did it. But I would go south 285 out of Carlsbad and go all the way down to I-10, intersect at Fort Stockton, and I would take 10 all the way south past Junction, and then we would hop on at 290 there, go through...
That's terrible.
Yeah, Johnson City, South Austin, and then Bastrop is where you cut up 21.
No, I-10 by itself is miserable.
Oh, I know. Like the stretch, for any of you who I'm sure you've done this drive before, but if you're out there on I-10, basically between Ozona and Fort Stockton, that's literally 100 miles of nothing.
Well, yeah, when we when we PCS'd out to California and then coming back, so we went from Virginia to San Diego, but we came down to some of my folks, so we basically left Houston to drive to San Diego, and we pretty much just got on I-10. And we stayed on I-10 until we hit I-5. And
right.
No shit, that was the drive.
Yep.
It's just miserable. And then going back to Fort Bragg, it was the same damn thing, because we saw it back by, saw the folks, and then I think we actually, we stayed on I-10 pretty much from California to Georgia, because we went and saw some of our friends there. Yeah. Ugh.
It's a hell of a drive.
I don't like road trips anymore. I'm old.
Well,
my back hurts.
Well, it's and I'm definitely at the point where I'm ready for that wonderful technology where we can do teleports / making it efficient autopilot driving, basically auto driving, where I can just sit back and just not worry about it.
I just need my family to be close because otherwise I'm not going to see them. That's all there's to it.
On the plus, on the plus side, the parents are moving down to Galveston, so before terribly long. That's not going to be as relevant of a drive. To see the family, it's 2.5 hours, with traffic. So I'm looking forward to that being the drive as opposed to going all the way out there. But it is what it is.
The Galveston drive is actually kind of fun from here. I enjoy it.
Yeah, I like it too.
I think I enjoy it just because I know I'm going to Galveston, and I know on the way back it's just short enough of a drive, and there's so many familiar landmarks that the drive goes by quick. But,
exactly. So it's all good. Well, hey guys.
Well, hey, speaking of Galveston, as soon as we actually get a cold snap, which I'm assuming maybe next week.
That's what it's looking like.
If you need me, leave a message at the beat because I will be trying to catch the flounder run down in Galveston.
Yes, sir.
Once that cold snap hits, see if I can't do a little flounder fishing. So I'm excited for that.
Well, so hey, once again, guys, we are so thankful for you, and of course, if you guys have anything you want to hear about, have questions for us, we're more than happy to discuss anything on this podcast outside of the aforementioned politics. We don't deal with that crap.
Yeah, float us some ideas. We're gonna start spending the back half of the podcast just kind of chit chatting.
Yeah, so you guys take care. Thank you so much.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Enjoy your turkey.
If you are traveling, be safe.
Yes.
If you're gathering with people, please be very safe.
All right. Of course, stay positive, test negative.
There you go.
Get the hell out of